Hey guys, this is Abe, and welcome to a new video to take a look at the outlook for tomorrow, 10/12/2022. And we're going to start, as usual, by looking at the charts. We're going to recap today's action, which was more like a ping pong. I just put these little balls over here, or circles, just so that we can see this ping pong action. We started the day, opened right around here, right around the 35.90 area, roughly. As you can see, overnight we actually broke below the 3600 and came back up in the morning and well, I would say, starting from about an hour before market open, it started dropping, and we started kind of like at the bottom once we opened, moved back up upwards of about 36.53.50 area, and rejected here in this resistance close to the 36.60, and from there we took a pretty good sized dip all the way down to 35.79, and from there, as you guys can see, we're having a little bit of we were having a little bit of chop action. And this is to be expected, ahead of a major event that we have, such as the CPI data. Now, tomorrow is going to be one of those days where you have to be extra, extra careful. And why is that? Well, before market open, we have the PPI data being released, or the PPI report, Producer Price Index, and which is kind of like a good indication for inflation, obviously, and for the CPI. And the other thing is that we have the FOMC minutes release that's going to be at around 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I honestly expect the market to not do much, if any, between these times. Like you might have a little bit of movement at market open, and then we'll probably chop around until the FOMC minutes release. From there, you'll see a little bit of a move. Truly still think that they're going to be saving the move or the big move for the CPI data release. And so also, you just can't discount. The news coming out of the UK on, how the government tried to stimulate the economy at a time where the federal bank is trying to fight inflation and this whole mess that it caused the British pound to drop. And they're actually, this is a pretty serious, very significant issue over there in the UK. We will talk about it probably tomorrow during the chat, and I will share some videos that were dropped on YouTube tonight about the situation and how could it could affect us here in the United States. It's almost like usually a dominoes effect. Usually, if something happens in one country, especially in one of the larger economies, usually transfers to other economies. And so a lot of the global companies too are interconnected, and they do have exposure in British-based companies that are going to be probably facing bankruptcy. And um, so it's definitely going to get a little bit more messy than what we see over here. So to look back at the charts again, we are sitting here right around 3600. It's acting like a magnet area over here, or let's just say like that we're basing here in this area, consolidating this pretty decent range actually of 100 points, I would say, that we have that we really need to watch. Now tomorrow, like I said, we might see a break. I'm going to actually change this one here to red because I see this to be a key level, 3660, and the next key level to the downside is going to be the 3571. And anything in between these two is going to be just a range. So call it a chop zone, call it as you will. These are the two key levels that I see over here, the 3660 area and the 3570 area, or 3571.75 to be exact. And if tomorrow's data breaks over or under these levels, I honestly, Just gonna be, you just have to be careful. Tomorrow is one of those days that if you enter the trade, well, first of all, you should not try to force a trade on a day like tomorrow. Second of all, if you get into a trade, just get in, get your money, and get out. Whatever it is, 5, 10%, or whatever you can get out of the market, take it and get out. As far as SPY, it's been pretty much today, it slaughtered both longs and shorts, with the way it did the move, except for those scalpers and day traders that actually will secure the profit and just run. So that's what I would always like to emphasize on: levels, levels, levels. So once you enter a trade, see your next level up, whichever level that you expect the potential reversal is going to happen at, take it and run. So again, for long or for short, I would say these are the two red levels. I know it's somewhat of a large range. What do we have? Like about 90, 89 points or so. I mean, it's a pretty decent sized range, but we'll see where we open in the morning tomorrow. Um, Again, I still expect the CPI data to come in. Um, Lower than the forecast or lower than the consensus, which depends on who you are and how you see it. We'll see how the market would react to it. Personally, I think, it comes in lower than expected. That's going to be a good sign for the Feds saying, hey, whatever we're doing is working. And there'll be less of a chance for a 1.5 raise or hike between now and the end of the year. And if it comes back lower, then more likely we'll have a total of about 1.25 interest rate hike between now and the end of the year, which basically is priced in already. So we shall see, but what works best is level to level. Now let's talk about the targets after breaking these points, which I have a feeling that tomorrow I'll be making the video. We probably was still within this range over here, but we'll talk about these levels anyways. So the break over 3660 over here will take us to the first target up. I want to say maybe a safer target will be right around 3680 and on to 3700 from that area, with 3700 being, as a whole number, that will probably be a good target to start trimming your position if you're going long. Again, assuming that we break and hold over the 3660. And from 3700, you have your 3730 as next target, 3745, and from there we will go to 3780 perhaps. I will probably extend this one here a little bit. Maybe at that point, I would say 3745 will be plenty. Um, so well, we might have to save that until the CPI. Now, to the downside, I only have two targets here in sight as of right now. If we break below, then we'll look at it. But as of right now, I see the break of 35.70 could take us down to about 35.43 as target one, 35.25 as target two. And you may all know by now that when I trade SPY or SPX, usually I'm just watching futures. So I just take my entries and exits based off the levels on ES. SPY is basically it's an ETF for ES over here, and it's on a scale of 1 to 10. So for those who don't know, I'm just gonna also take look at a stock that we traded today, Airbnb. I was actually looking at it last night and I saw that we had a really nice looking bear flag over here and figured, okay, well, if we break out of this channel and probably break below the 107 area, it's a good time to go ahead and take a short. So we took two trades on Airbnb today. The first trade was on the break of this 107, but I kind of gotten a little bit later after the break because honestly, with the contracts that I was looking at, the spread was kind of ridiculous, and there was about $40 to $50 at one point difference in the spread between ask and bid. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to try to get in at the ask, paying the highest, and if it slows down, IV crush. will destroy the contracts, especially that I was looking at weeklies. And so we entered, we got out with a little bit of profit somewhere over here. It still continued to the downside over here, down to hit about 103 and 64, I would say, as the low. And from there it bounced really nice. I almost traded the bounce, but I honestly did not expect it to go um, this strong. I mean, it was absolutely a beast. Whenever you're talking about like a move from here, 103.60 something, all the way up to almost 110, about 109.66. Now, one thing is worth mentioning that we secured profit here, and then I waited for the move to the upside, and I actually went ahead and waited for the retest of this support, and hopefully turned resistance is what was my thought, is that we'll get over here for another put, and my stop loss would have been at the break over $110. If we broke over $110, I was just gonna just let it be because it looked like it was going to rip at that point. But we started seeing slowing down, and at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and add the market net flow for Airbnb over here on the side, as you guys can see it. So we remained consistently bearish. This area over here where you see the drop in the number of puts where the line dropped, that was pretty much whenever this rip started happening over here. And the thing that was really interesting here looking at it is that you see the calls line remained below zero, pretty much consistent. Like it stayed steady on the same level, hardly moved. It moved a little bit up over here when it started moving, but that wasn't much. And after that, it started dropping even before, even more than the beginning of the day. So I figured I'm staying in this trade because the flow is showing that money's moving my way. And the other thing is that we broke again below this resistance. I'm sorry, this support line turned resistance, and we had like this little head and shoulder type formation. If you look at it on a smaller time frame, I'm going to make the screen bigger over here for those who are on their phones. And again, that $107 remained as the key level that I wanted to see a break below. And if we broke, I would just continue. I already figured about 105, 105.50 would have been my target, and we actually exited somewhere over here because usually prudent dictates that you secure profit while you're ahead. And so it moved a little bit further down. We secured some profit, even though we were holding in drawdown for some time, but we secured our profit, and thankfully it was a really, really nice, decent trade. Now, to continue looking at Airbnb over here to see what the setup is looking like for tomorrow. Honestly, I'm thinking if we stay below this 107, we can continue, try to come down here towards 104 or so. But again, tomorrow is not going to be a day where I would like to force a trade. Technically, the low of day over here, I'm going to go ahead and actually measure it. It was 103.60. So technically, below 103.60, you might see the next target down to 102.33, but I think it will be stretching it a little bit too much if I try to do that, especially on a day that I'm not expecting a whole lot of a move due to us waiting for the FOMC data. So just remember, staying on cash is a position, just like taking a trade. It's the same thing. You decided that you're going to preserve your capital and you're not going to risk it. And so this is something that is really, really important and you have to think about whenever you're trading the markets. Not every day is meant to be a day to trade. Sometimes there are going to be days that you might just have to sit it out and just sit down and watch. If the setup is there, great. If the volume is there, great. If not, just sit and watch. There's no reason for you to have to actually take the trade. You don't get paid based on the number of trades you take. You get paid on the quality of the setups that you take. And so to me, I honestly don't think tomorrow is going to be a great day. But with that being said, this was a really nice trade today. Like I said, we hit it twice. um, Another way to look at the setup over here for Airbnb, I would say, let me just go ahead and remove this head and shoulders over here just to have less things to look at. We might come back up to this area over here again towards the 1010 or so. And if we go there and we show some rejection with the flow support in it, we can try to short it, but this time we would be shorting at a higher level and probably would try to take something like maybe next week's contracts rather than this week. And it will be really interesting to see how this plays out. But again, depends on the action. Tomorrow we'll see how it goes. Another good mover today was Netflix, and had I not traded Airbnb, I probably would have traded Netflix. Same thing for this puppy, except for that to the downside, it has a lot better potential because we closed lower. We did not actually bounce back like Airbnb did. As you guys can see over here, I'm going to go ahead and move it back to about 4 hour time frame. Let me go ahead and move this orange line and let's just take a look and focus on this symmetrical triangle looking formation. And we obviously broke below it. And today with this break, just like Airbnb, we broke, we dropped, we came back and retested the bottom of that triangle. We rejected and moved back down. Now, the interesting thing about Netflix, which is definitely on my top list for tomorrow, is going to be the break below this level, 211.44 and even 210, with it being a $5 increment. And usually these $5 increment numbers are key supports, resistances sometimes, or they could actually show some kind of rejection of some sort or reaction. So you have to keep an eye on that. So you can wait on it in one of these forms, especially if tomorrow turns out to be a bearish day and you see that ES is actually moving to the downside. I normally like to look at puts for days that are red, look for calls on days that are green. So if this thing drops below this level, comes back and retests and you see a rejection, this would be one way to enter this trade with a very small stop loss. As long as it does not break and hold above this 211.44 area, chances are you will continue to the downside, and the target will be somewhere around um, 200. That would probably be the ultimate target, let's just say. But if we want to try to make it a little bit safer, if you want to day trade and scalp, I would say 207 could be target one. And yeah, I mean, 200 definitely looks like it's in the books if it breaks. So this definitely will be something that I will be looking at tomorrow. Don't forget Netflix could actually move. So if this breaks, you could easily drop down to 200 and to 200 level, or maybe even lower. I wouldn't hold it past 200 personally because 200, it's a whole number, very strong. You might have quite a bit of buyers sitting over here in this area, and that could actually cause a reaction, like a buy reaction from there. Again, tomorrow is not the day for you to expect fireworks. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, you already know. So if you see a strong break, with volume below this level over here, and we hold below this level, whether it's we reject, like we break, come back, reject, and you take it to the downside, or if you take the breakout and just take a quick trade here to here, about $4 move from 211.44 to about 207. That would be a nice area to trim, and or actually just take the trade altogether like that. And if it bounces back up here, you could probably try to short it again, given that you have a red flow for the day, given that you have a red day on the major indices, that would be a nice trade. Now, to the other side, I would say I wouldn't try to long Netflix until we break right above this area over here of this green line. Let's just say, actually, I want to move it a little bit higher. This could be like a trigger over here. But I would say $225 break would be a, a good time for entry. And I'm not sure that's going to happen tomorrow. Again, you have a pretty decent range. I mean, you can still, if the day looked like it was going to be green, try to take a long from here and try to trade this move to the upside upwards of this purple, not purple, whatever, magenta line, or take it upwards of 220, 222 or so, with the stop loss being right under 210 if you would rather trade it that way. So there are different ways that you can actually look at it, but definitely Netflix is going to be one that I'm looking at. I'm kind of hoping for a red day tomorrow, especially if we break that key level on ES. That would be prime to take this one here all the way to the downside. But is that going to happen? Not sure. I'll definitely be looking at setups tomorrow, being a little extra careful. So I'm trying to keep these videos short and sweet by looking maybe at ES and a couple of other setups for the plan for the next day. Obviously, these are not the only stocks that I'm going to be watching for tomorrow, but these are the two interesting ones that I thought I wanted to share with you guys. And if you're new and the first time you're watching this channel, please consider subscribing and liking for more content. And if you would like to trade live with us, you can join us in Discord. I will leave the link in the description section below. We're running a special. The first month is for free, so we would love to see you there. The details will be in the server. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you all tomorrow morning. Bye.